Hi everybody, my name is Jo and I love to read. Today I'm going to be doing my May and June reading wrap up. Can't believe it is honestly halfway through the year. It is absolutely crazy. The first book that I'm going to be talking about is Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, written by J.K. Rowling, illustrated by Jim Kay with Neil Packer. Now I'm not going to hold this up the whole time because it is super heavy, but I'll just give you guys a bit of a look at the cover and then I will insert a picture of it. This one I haven't actually finished yet. I got about a quarter of the way into this one. I was having a really good time, but unfortunately the book is too heavy for me to hold up while I was pregnant, so I stopped reading this one probably early May-ish, something like that, when my belly was starting to get bigger, and it just was wasn't quite painful, but it was just uncomfortable that I could feel the weight of it and pulling on me and pulling on my bump as well when I was sitting there reading, even when I had it propped up fairly away in lots of different positions. Probably the only other thing I could have tried was having it at the dining table and sitting whilst reading it that way, but I didn't want to limit myself to that, so I've decided to put it down until I've had the baby, and then my plan is when I can lay on my stomach again, which I'm very excited about, I'm gonna prop it up in bed and lay on my stomach and just have it up like that. I honestly don't know why they didn't split that one into two different parts. I would have loved that. It just seems so big to the point that it's irritating and hard to move around, so I'm not sure whether they didn't test that before they printed a whole bunch of copies. I don't really know, but personally if it was me I would have made it into two different editions because it is just way too heavy for it to be comfortable. I don't even know whether I will be reading it again after I've read it the first time because it's just too uncomfortable. I do intend to purchase the rest of the illustrated interactive series when they are published. They're the ones that were being published by Mina Lima, and unfortunately for whatever reason their contract wasn't renewed, which I'm very sad about because I loved the designs, and Mina Lima also has a really big history with the franchise, with the movies. We do not know the internal decisions that came to them not being rehired, but I do also want to give the new illustrators a try because I recognise that it's not their fault that Mina Lima wasn't given the chance again, and I want them also to have a fair go as well. The first book I finished is The Last Kingdom by Bernard Cornwell. I believe the series itself is called The Last Kingdom. It is the first book. This book is about a Saxon boy named Uhtred in the late 800s, so 866 AD, as they were ruling England but not united when they were still split into different countries. At the very start, Uhtred is kidnapped by the Viking invaders, the Danes, and most of the book is about his childhood growing up in that captivity. This book was really engaging. I had a really great time with it, and it was the first book that's actually succeeded in pulling me out of this weird reading situation that I've been in. You guys have hopefully seen a previous video where, or if not, this is what the video is about. I'll leave a link below if you want to check it out. The video is about me cleaning up my currently read section. I had so many different books and I would just go from whim to whim to whim without actually finishing the book that I was on, and I really think that it damaged my concentration a little bit reading and made me feel like I didn't really enjoy reading and that reading was really difficult. Possibly life stuff that was going on. I was early pregnant at that stage. But The Last Kingdom, this wonderful book here, was actually one that I persevered and finished with it from start to finish. I don't know whether it was because the book was captivating enough for me to do this, because I did actually finish this book before the video that I talked about, before I decided to completely go through my current reads and pretty much decide to abandon most of them because it was just not gripping me no matter how sad I was feeling about that. The writing style was a little bit difficult to get into to begin with. It is very much written in the style of a memoir, even though it is fiction, but that's just the way that Uhtred does it. It's a very conversational tone. I'm quite curious to see now, continuing on with the rest of the series one day, whether the tone is going to change a little bit to be a bit more present day, because a lot of it felt like it was recounting, although the action scenes were definitely still immediate. They still felt like they were happening right now. They weren't boring or slow in any ways, but most of it felt like he was sitting around recounting his life to you. So I'm really curious to see, now that we've dealt with most of his childhood, what it's going to be like in future books. So I definitely recommend this one. It is all historical fiction. There is a tiny little bit of magic in the sense of back in those days they were superstitious, but it's definitely not fantasy in any ways. It's historical fiction that's based on true things that have happened, though the character Uhtred is not true himself. I'm looking forward to continuing on with this series. I'm definitely going to be keeping this one, hopefully continuing it on soon, but who knows. If anybody wants me to read the next one soon, leave a comment down below and let me know. It was really good to be in the point of view of someone who was raised by the Vikings, because it had a lot of questions, and Uhtred himself has a lot of questions as well about family and loyalty and loving and being a part of a family of people who also do quite bad, brutal things. They're Vikings. But interestingly enough though, as I researched a bit more into the true stuff in England in this period, the Anglo-Saxons themselves that the Vikings were invading, they themselves invaded the country, and there was another people who were living in England first and they decided to take it over. They were just successful about it. The next book I finished is another Sookie Vampire. The next book I finished is another Sookie Stackhouse book. It's also, their actual series is called The Southern Vampire Mysteries, but most people know them as Sookie Stackhouse or True Blood. This one is Dead and Gone by Charlaine Harris. I'm not sure quite which number I'm up to now. It's got to be in the tens, maybe number 10 or 9. This was another really great volume. This is a paranormal romance series. Sookie is a mind reader in a world of ordinary humans, or so they think, because at the start of the first book it is actually revealed that there is vampires, and because a form of synthetic blood has been invented, the vampires now feel that they are safe enough to reveal themselves to society, since that there's a way for them to eat that does not involve endangering most of the humans. Over time we do learn over the series that there's lots of different types of magical beings as well. I won't say who they are if anybody doesn't want spoilers, but just know it's one of those paranormal series that has lots of different magical creatures in them. I really enjoy these for the romance mostly, more than the mysteries, and I'm super curious as always to find out what happens to Sookie's romantic life. There's a little bit of a interesting part going on in this one. There's not a lot that I can say spoiler free about this one, being how late it is in the series, but I'll just say that I am still continuing to enjoy this very much. I wasn't really sure because paranormal romance is generally not my jam, but I've been reading this series for many years and I still want to continue on with it, and that was the same with this one as well. It felt like it took a little bit of me to get into, and that I was just sort of passively interested but not really actively, and then just all of a sudden I found myself continuously wanting to read it and flying through it really quickly in a matter of days, maybe a week, something like that, week and a half. And the last book I want to talk about is a sad DNF. I'm really sad to be DNFing this book, but I am solid in my decision now, and that is Murtagh by Christopher Paolini. I'm really sad to be DNFing this one, to not enjoying it. I read The Inheritance Cycle. I read Aragon years and years ago when I was a teenager, and then the other books I read in my early 20s, and despite being YA, I still really enjoyed them. I really loved them. So when he put out this book, I was so excited and thought that it was just gonna be another amazing, super fun book to read, and I got bored. So bored so easily. Unfortunately, I only got, I don't know, not very far through, 50 pages, 100 pages, something like that. It might have been, I don't think it was even 80. I think it was around about 80 pages in. There is such a slow pace for a book this size too. Like, this is chunky, which is not unexpected for Paolini, but it just felt like it needed a good edit even in those pages. There was this scene that I can tell you about because it's at the very start, where Murtagh is in a bar and he's having a multi-page, like several page conversation with the innkeeper's daughter, and it's got like nothing to do with the plot whatsoever, and I'm just like sitting here reading it so bored. It took me a lot to like get through that, because I would read 2 pages and then be like, okay, we're still on this, I'm gonna do something else, and then another 2 pages. I just don't, even after having read that, I don't understand what the point of that was. Maybe to garner a bit of sympathy because then an argument breaks out in the end, but I don't think you needed to hear this girl's troubles to have got that sympathy. I think it could have just been gained with some good description. Maybe her mum cries out, or there's fear in her young eyes, and he thinks about the life that she could have, and so he must save her or something. Like, there could have been a way to achieve sympathy without it taking up pages and pages and pages. So that was, yeah, it's just disappointing, and I just don't care to then sit through the rest, because when we actually got a bit more of a plot, I just don't care about what he's wanting to do. I don't know if it's a symptom of having killed the big bad, and so then there's not really anything that's gonna top that or feel worthwhile, possibly. It's kind of how I feel about if there was continuations in the Harry Potter world. It would be very hard because of the epicness that was Voldemort and the rest of the series. I just decided to trust my DNFing, and I feel really good about it because now it has made me go on and read something else, which I'm really enjoying. This felt scary to DNF, but I'm so glad I did because I'm just loving reading. I'm flying through other things now, and it's just good. So trust the DNF, trust the process. Thanks everybody, that's all I wanted to talk about today. Thank you so much for sticking around for my May and June 2025 reading wrap up. Have you read any of these ones yourself? Have you attempted to DNF them? Do you have any thoughts? Let me know in the comments below, and if you've got this far and you don't know what to comment some kind of flower emoji. Don't forget to like this video if you liked it and subscribe if you want to see more from me, and I will talk to you guys in my next video. Bye!